Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Humpday Hockey. I'm your host, Viddy Trent, and I'm just kind of here, relaxing, having myself some beer, root beer, but beer nonetheless. And today is going to be the first ever airing episode of a weekly series that I'd like to call Humpday Hockey. Every single Wednesday, I'm going to come at you with the newest NHL news, trades, free agent signings, things like that. Just everything with hockey in general. Also, standings and stats for every single player. News, well, first of all, there's been no trades. No one's been picked up on waivers since Frankie Corrado. But there's really nothing been happening. But probably the biggest news that everyone wants to know about is probably Connor McDavid scoring his first goal in the NHL last night. He got a tip-in chance from Edmonton against Dallas. If you haven't seen it, I'd highly suggest watching it. It was an okay goal. It was his first of many, I'm sure, that he's going to get in the next few years, and hopefully the media will be less hard on him, like they have been, and saying that he's been terrible, since Jack Eichel has 2 goals for the Buffalo Sabres, and he was drafted 1 full round after McDavid. Well, not one full round, just the pick after McDavid. But nothing much has been happening. But nevertheless, today I'm going to be sharing with you, I should say, my stats and my standings for the NHL so far. So the Eastern Conference is shaping up that if the playoffs started today, Montreal would be in first place, also winning the President's Trophy with 8 points. Detroit with 6 in second, Tampa Bay with 6, New York Rangers with 6, Florida with 4, Ottawa with 4, New York Islanders with 3, and Philadelphia with 3. That's if the playoffs start today. Those would be the Eastern Conference teams making the playoffs. But, as you can see by the list, there is a big gap, and those 2 gaps are both within the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Boston Bruins, both with 0 points in 3 games played. Excuse me. Both with 0 points in the last 3 games. So that's very unexpected. I definitely thought personally that they would be making it a lot farther than they have been, but nevertheless, they're not in the playoff spot right now. Look for that to change, though. It's definitely going to change. In the West, my favorite team in the NHL, the Vancouver Canucks, are leading with 7 points. San Jose is in second with 6. Nashville third with 6. Winnipeg fourth with 6. Arizona fifth with 4. Minnesota 6th with 4. Chicago 7th with 4. And St. Louis 8th with 4. Once again, there are a few big names missing from that list. Anaheim is 1, with only 1 small point in 2 games that they got. They're definitely missing making the playoffs, especially with EA expecting them to win the Stanley Cup. They should be hopefully on the better track of it if you are an Anaheim Ducks fan. And another team that's at the very bottom of the Western Conference that we all thought was going to do much better than last season, the LA Kings, have 0 points. But I wouldn't be too worried, for LA usually loses a lot of games early on, loses quite a few games during the regular season, but wins just enough to make it into the playoffs and then win the Stanley Cup. Player stats for the season. Henrik Zetterberg is currently leading the NHL in points with 7. Max Pacioretty's behind him with 6. So is Patrick Kane with 6. Nathan MacKinnon's behind there with 5. Same with David Krejci, Justin Abdelkader, Gabriel Landeskog, Francois Beauchemin, Johnny Gaudreau, Blake Wheeler, all in the top 10 for scoring, all with 5 or more points. Goals, the goal leaders this year so far, Max Pacioretty's leading with 4, Justin Abdelkader, Oscar Lindbergh, Zach Parise, all have 4 as well. Patrick Kane, Gabriel Landeskog, and Jason Spezza, Kyle Turris, Thomas Mechanic, and Mark Scheifele and Matt Zuccarello all have 3 coming in in the top 10 and a little bit of extra. For points for the leaders for the rookies, Oscar Lindbergh is leading with points with 4 big points in the NHL for him and his team, which is the New York Rangers. Goalies in the NHL wins currently Carey Price, Ben Bishop, Pekka Rinne, Henrik Lundqvist, Ryan Miller, Martin Jones, all are leading the NHL with wins, with 3 whole wins. The goals against average, even though it's early, Martin Jones, Jimmy Howard, Pekka Rinne, and Mike Smith, well, not technically Mike Smith, but Pekka Rinne, Jimmy Howard, and Martin Jones all have an under 1 goals against average. Martin Jones is leading them with .33 with 3 games played. If he can keep that up, that would be an amazing season. Save percentage, Martin Jones is in number 1 with .987. Jimmy Howard has .977. Pekka Rinne with .975. Roberto Luongo with .972. And Mike Smith is in 5th with .971. The goalies are looking well, but of course it's really early in the season, so who can tell how good they're going to be. There have been 6 goalies that have been able to notch shutouts in their NHL already. Martin Jones being one of them, getting 2 shutouts. Jimmy Howard, Pekka Rinne, Ryan Miller, and Michael Neuer and Antti Niemi each have 1 shutout as well. So current predictions going into the next week by me. I expect, Pittsburgh, of course, Boston, LA, and Anaheim to do a heck of a lot better than they have been in the last few games. I expect them to have some wins before the end of next week. That's for sure. We'll see if I'm right. I doubt that I'm going to be wrong, but you never know. Teams that are in the playoffs right now that probably won't make it next week. I'm going to say for the Eastern Conference, I'm going to say Philadelphia is not going to be in the top 8 to be next week. And for the West, I'm going to say definitely not Arizona is going to be in the top next week. They got 5th place in the conference so far. That's a little high up, and by a little high up, I mean very high up. They have points, 4 points right now, and I don't expect them to do overly well this season. However, I am wrong a lot of times, and I'd love to be proven wrong. Also, I said that the Canucks would not make the playoffs this year overall in a podcast that I did. You could probably hear that on SoundCloud. And I got to do another podcast with some people that I go to school with. They're lovely people, and it was about the season upcoming. We have a Flames fan, an Oilers fan, and I'm the Canucks fan. And I'm definitely going to put a link to that in the description below. You guys should totally listen to it and totally listen to the guy Kevin's other podcasts. They're all great. They're all funny. They're all hilarious. He's a great guy. You're going to love him. We all love him. You'll learn to love him. More podcasts that I might be on. I'm currently trying to see if I can squeeze my way into the tight schedule, get much higher podcasts. They're an incredible group of guys that are also going to go to my school. Great guys, great friends of mine. You guys should check them out. I'm going to hopefully be on their podcast one day. They do album reviews. They just do random podcasts. You're going to learn to love those guys. They're awesome. If you like sports like I do, and you kind of like this, you're going to get some even more awesome content. If you like NFL, WWE, even hockey, go to The Bottom Line View on YouTube. They're going to say that you spelled it wrong. Stick to your guns. Make sure that there's no spaces whatsoever. Stick to your guns, even though that they say that you spelled it wrong. Click on the link again, and you know what? It will take you right to my brother Mitch. He is a great, funny guy. You're going to love him. But anyway, thanks for watching.